Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another dramatic reading of Andy Ngo's horrible book. A big warm welcome to the people from Masterport and Retweet thread who've been alerted to our existence. We're glad you're here. Please be polite or I will block you. But maybe I will just be polite. Like, you can just listen. It's fine. You don't have to say anything. Yeah. And so I am joined happily by Mel B, who is the editor of Protein Magazine. Mel, you want to tell people about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Mel B. I am an associate editor for Protein Magazine. I'm also the host of Protein's podcast, Protein Pirate Radio. And I am also a Twitch streamer. So I stream on Twitch at Cold Brewed Tool and talk about politics, play games. I'm happy to be here. Hi.
Awesome. I'm happy that you are here. Antifash Gordon was supposed to join us. He's had a personal emergency. He may be dropping on later, but he may not. Obviously, that's priority number one. I have demanded that he join me next week. And by demanded, I mean I've cordially requested that he consider coming on. So hopefully next week, but I do apologize. We are tragically Antifash Gordon-less this evening, probably.
I think we can handle it.
Yeah, I feel like we got this. We got this covered. You're like a professional podcaster. I'm just some person who likes to drink a lot. Speaking of which, it's time for whiskey because this chapter, oh boy, it's a whiskey chapter. I am drinking Templeton Rye. There's no thematic relationship, but it was on sale at the whiskey store and it's delicious. So,
hell yeah.
Let's get this party started.
Hi, Corey. I see you.
And what are you drinking today, Mel?
Just a very strong gin and tonic.
Oh, outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Lord's drink, really. All right, so we got some critical theory. Woohoo! Chapter 6, American Mutation. And just jump in if you have anything to say. I'm just going to read it, and then we'll just make fun of it. Saturday, June 30th, 2018 was a warm day in Portland. He really paints a picture with his words there. Patriot Prayer, a conservative group, headed by an evangelical preacher named Joey Gibson, organized a permitted march in downtown Portland. The right-wing gathering was met by hundreds of left-wing protesters. Ahead of the rally, Rose City Antifa created a Facebook page event entitled Defend PDX, Patriot Prayer's Violence Must End. PDX is a moniker for Portland, taken from the airport code from Portland International Airport. That's the least interesting part of that sentence, Andy. I don't know if you've had the misfortune of being familiar with the goons of Patriot Prayer, Mel.
Not really. Not in Nebraska.
Lucky, good.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have your own local fun time chuds over there.
Oh yeah, no, we've got a contingent of Proud Boys that refuse to go away, and Patriot Front likes to sticker the downtown quite often. So.
Yeah, I would, if I had to choose Patriot Prayer over Patriot Front. I would prefer neither, but if I had to choose. I
They're
would like
persistent. We'll say that.
Yeah, you got to give them that. No matter how many times they look like dorks and losers and lose fights, they just got to admire that old American spirit.
Oh, yeah.
But just to contextualize the really quite incredible summary of what preceded June 30th, 2018, which, by the way, this is my wheelhouse. I was infiltrating Patriot Prayer while this happened. I went to all of these rallies. On June 1st, there was a going away party for Tusitala Tiny Toesi, who keeps threatening to go away and then never actually does it. But this was one of his goodbye parties. And at the goodbye party, there was a brawl. And it was not good. It was a very small gathering, but it was a fairly, brawly one. And so the June 30th event was basically in response to that incident, and everyone was very obviously coming primed to beat up Antifa. That was the whole thing. It was messaged heavily on social media. So,
wow.
Just so everyone's aware. The book continues. The Facebook page accused Gibson of bringing in alt-right bullies, Nazis, homophobes, and unsavory characters to brutalize vulnerable people. Well, He did bring in Kyle Bastickman Chapman to talk in 2017. He did that. And Identity Europa has attended many Patriot Prayer gatherings. And there was that awkward incident where Jeremy Christian, who did attend Patriot Prayer gatherings and was run out, but was definitely someone who went to multiple ones, and then stabbed 3 people, and 2 of them died. And yeah, so yeah, I think the Facebook page was right, actually. Yeah. So we're carry on and learn more about. There's a quote. Okay, we are united in our opposition to the rise of fascism in this country, and we sure as hell will not let it take our streets. No pasaran, continued the post, ending with the Antifa Spanish language rallying cry. Okay. Cool. Sounds good to me.
Right?
Yeah, all right. As the right-wingers began their march, they were confronted by dozens in the Antifa black bloc. The 2 sides stared each other down. Suddenly, someone hurled a flashbang grenade at the right-wingers. Its explosion acted as a cue to brawl. Now, by flashbang, what he means is an M80. That is what he means. That is what was thrown. And weirdly, it was a little shocking back in 2018 to have an M80 thrown at you, which is funny now,
right,
after last summer. But
yeah,
it's not yeah.
Kind of weird how things escalate.
Yeah,
and now it's just kind of normal.
It's like, oh, flashbang, neat, cool.
Right.
M80, what is that? Like, cute.
Like, oh, fireworks, thanks.
Neat, yeah, it's festive. It's festive. It's fine.
Festive. Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yeah, love living in this particular period of history. It's my favorite. So then it says that both sides rushed towards each other with fists, sticks, and batons swinging. Those knocked to the ground were pummeled and stomped on. Antifa militants wearing helmets hurled rocks and bottles. No police were around as people beat each other bloody. It was a brawl. It was a brawl. It was a brawl. That's it's not wrong. It's about to get wrong.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. After both sides were grouped, more fighting broke out in a nearby street. Then the punch happened. A masked, black-clad militant with a collapsible baton was joined by his comrades. Weird passive voice, but okay. He took a swing at a right-winger and knocked him to the ground. Then he made eye contact with 28-year-old Ethan Nordine, a Proud Boy member from Washington State. He swung twice and hit Nordine with the baton. Nordine didn't flinch and punched the Antifa militant in the face, knocking him unconscious and sending his sunglasses off into the distance. He collapsed to the ground and was dragged away by his comrades.
Didn't he just get arrested for his involvement in the Capitol riot?
He sure did! He sure did! Yes!
Oh my God.
It's great. My favorite part of this book is how it went to press before January 6th and then came out like 3 weeks after. And
brilliant. It's just beautiful. Just a rolling cast of characters who are now facing federal insurrection charges. It's just perfect.
Chef's kiss. Absolutely. Yep. No, you absolutely love to see it. Also, what he just said is wrong. I did a whole article about this for Read Magazine back after it happened as part of my 200-page behemoth of a thesis on these assholes. And what had happened, you see, is that there were rolling brawls, and a member of Antifa got knocked to the ground, and then a bunch of Proud Boys jumped on that guy to beat him, and then the guy with the baton came up to try to beat the guys off of his friend. And then he made eye contact with Ethan Nordine, aka Rufio Panman. And then he swung because they were fighting. Rufio caught the baton and one punch knocked him out. And then he proceeded to have a seizure. He lived, but Andy's rendition is just not correct.
Well, it's pretty typical. It's cherry picking events in order to set a bias about it. Exactly. So you're saying that this person with the baton was acting in self-defense of other comrades.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I mean, there was a lot of brawling that day. I'm not saying that it was a complicated day, but this scenario wasn't complicated. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. There's links to what I just said. I'm not I'm not Andy, who has not cited a single goddamn thing, by the way, so far in this chapter. I cite my sources in the article, and if you want to check it out and see if I'm lying, I would encourage you to do that. So, all right. So we're gonna carry on. The punch was captured on video, and the footage became an internet sensation to Donald Trump fans across America. To many conservative Americans who don't follow the esoteric politics of Antifa, the footage was simple to understand. Antifa started a fight with a Trump supporter and lost. Cool. That violent summer in Portland, I was traveling the United Kingdom and Europe to work on stories for an unrelated beat. Mel, are you familiar with the Whitechapel, England article?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
What?
boy.
What?
So what Andy was doing during this time when he was on his unrelated beat in the UK was going to Whitechapel, England, I believe it's a neighborhood in London, and then writing a giant article about how it had been taken over by Sharia law, which was absolutely true, obviously. No, yeah. Essentially Saudi Arabia.
Speechless.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fantastic. So that's what he was busy doing. Very serious journalism. I'm gonna
find that and read that.
You should.
later.
You know, it's fantastic. You've got to. It is the funniest shit you've ever read in your life. It features Andy being terrified by a niqab, which is amazing. Like, just wonderful.
Love that. Love that.
I would like to comment to Thinking with My Dick, who is riding the line on being blocked, but you're doing okay so far. The comrades word is a word that Andy's using, so if you've got a problem with it, I would recommend writing him. You can reach him at anderfordno@hmail.com. I don't know if that's true. Anyway, try it. It could work.
Also, I just love that we're being called establishment shills by another person in the comments. Far from it.
Establishment shill.
Man, if I was an establishment shill, I'd be sitting pretty, could fucking buy a house. Oh my God.
Yeah, fuck. I would be drinking
get paid $60,000 to tweet bullshit. Like, fuck.
That's the dream. Someday we'll all be on Brooklyn Dad's level.
Someday.
Someday.
Oh boy.
Someday. Mm-hmm. So carrying on, so he was traveling the United Kingdom and Europe to work on stories for an unrelated beat, but the videos and photos out of my hometown made their way to the international press, giving me an opportunity to ask locals what they thought of this new American phenomenon. They weren't surprised. You're just seeing, I'm going to do a bad English accent in honor of Andy. You're just seeing this now there? We've had hooligan street fights for decades, said one Englishman who's apparently Australian. Sorry.
Oh my God.
He pointed to the shaved heads and punk-style clothing of some of the Antifa militants. You see where this is going. Before Antifa made its way to the United States, it spread to Britain first from continental Europe. There, it cross-pollinated with the punk subculture, creating a uniquely English language form of Antifa. So let's dive into some real good history here.
What was the name of that infamous Nazi rally that happened in England in the 40s that was completely quashed by like 40,000 anti-fascists during World War II? Cable Street riots? Is that it?
Yeah, just, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's super punk, but let's get our history correct here. This is Antifa is not a new phenomenon across the world. No. But that's fine, Andy. We'll take your word for it.
This is fine. I will say to his credit that in the previous chapter, which by the way was the first chapter I read way back when I didn't realize this is going to be a whole thing, he does go into the dark roots of Antifa in 1930s Germany, where they were established to fight ? And then took over East Germany. It was a very weird chapter. It's kind of astounding to how little he managed to mention the Nazis in a chapter about 1930s Germany. It was very impressive. Skinhead for life. You can go now. Sorry about it. All right. So let's see here. Yeah. So again, there's a lot of you here, and you're all welcome to stay. Just please don't be assholes like too much. You can be like regular assholes, but like don't be like super assholes. All right. So we are going to talk about British Antifa, but in the most horrible goddamn way possible. British Antifa. Before developing an American offshoot, Antifa found footage in Britain in the 1970s punk rock music scene, particularly through the Oi subculture, which brought together punks and skinheads for the London working class. Though skinheads are now commonly thought of as being associated with neo-Nazis, skinhead subculture can be left-wing, right-wing, or apolitical. That's true. Its origins in London in the late 1960s was particularly, yes, that is a was where it should be were, was particularly multiracial, taking strong influence from Jamaican street culture and music, but by the mid-1970s, a strain of it was influenced by far-right racist ideology. Seems about right. He doesn't cite any sources, but like, I'll buy that. Does that sound right? I mean,
I'm not super familiar with that, honestly, but
yeah, I'm not. No, this is not my wheelhouse. But
right. Footnotes, Andy. Footnotes, please.
Footnotes, yeah, please. Citation needed, as always. Oh yeah. No, we need it. It's central.
Yes.
Central Scrutinizer would like to know how many hours of protests I've watched. Not that many, Central Scrutinizer, but I did go out to almost every single protest in Portland over the summer. Mel, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I would say my 70 plus tweet threads of the various demonstrations that I attended over the last 10 months or so would be enough. Yeah. I was on the ground in Minneapolis. I was on the ground in Omaha. I've been doing this work for the last 10 months or so, and I've been live tweeting my way through it. You are welcome to check out my Twitter account and search through my tweets and find them. So quite a few, and the protests that I can't get to because they're halfway across the country, I have live tweeted live streams. So quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So glad we could clear that up, y'all. Glad we could help out with your questions. Yeah, so we're gonna keep going. I am gonna start banning you guys if you don't let other people talk. So you guys got about 5 minutes to tone it down, and I'm just gonna start banning you because you annoy me. Private property. Are we terrorists? Nope. Goodbye. Nope. On the ground in Omaha. Yep. Goodbye. Probably saw me breaking the law at some point. Goodbye. Let's see who else we can get. They always call the police. No, we don't. Goodbye. Pathetic. You are. Goodbye. Andy Ngo is an American hero. Nope, he is not. Goodbye. Sorry about this. This is not the video. Audio quality is still lame. How fucking dare you? You are blocked, sir. I will not tolerate this.
Please come on my stream. Oh my God.
Absolute fucking murder. All of you. Go cry on Twitter.
Joe Best, yes, there were protests in Omaha. There were actually protests in Omaha.
You're not blocked for calling me a bitch. You're blocked because that is not the right and I'm ashamed of you. Goodbye. Sorry. You were saying something before I rudely interrupted you.
Oh, cool. Andy Ngo is restreaming us.
Is he?
Yeah.
Andy, hi, unblock me, you coward.
Oh my God. Oh shit.
Oh, you unblocked me. You talk about censorship, but you've had me blocked for months. And I have unblocked you, Andy. I've unblocked you. So you unblocked me. Aww. That's what a real patriot would do.
I love
Carrying on.
This is great.
So, thank you. I appreciate it. Mark Bray, the Antifa historian and author, citation needed. Great guy. You should definitely read his book.
Oh no, I've spoken with him personally. He's a cool dude.
Was he amazing?
Yeah, he interviewed Nebraska Antifa for his book.
That's awesome.
And got a chance to kind of connect people. It was cool. Yeah, he's a very cool dude.
I have a giant intellectual crush on Mark Bray. His book is fantastic.
He is so cool. He's so cool, and his book is so good. And I'm just so glad that he wrote that book. That book was amazing when that shit came out in 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
It's on my shelf. It's one of my favorite books. Yeah, Mark Bray, if you're watching this. Absolutely. I'm so glad he follows me on Twitter. Is that fucking intellectual crush, dude?
Oh my God. I would actually scream. I would scream and everyone would hear me. And yeah, absolutely.
I had a moment when he followed me on Twitter. I was like, have I made it?
That's so great. Oh my God. Yeah, I would die. Thank you, Beta, very, very much.
Lynn, the book is Antifa Handbook, I think.
Yes.
Antifash's Handbook.
Yeah, the
Anti-Fascist Handbook, I think is what it's
I
called.
believe so, and it's a history of Antifa. It's a defense of the techniques used. I don't agree with every single thing in it. I agree with like 90% of it. I think it's fantastic. It's really thought-provoking. It's a great distillation of the
it's very well researched. The man did his homework and, spoke to various anti-fascists across the country post 2016. And Corey, I'm so jealous that you have an autographed copy of his book. It's really a good book. It's a good sort of primer if you're interested in sort of like modern iterations of Antifa in the last, 5 or 6 years. And how that kind of, it would be interesting. Hopefully he sees this to be like, hey, write a second book to see how this is kind of like moved, how the trends have moved, how activism has moved, particularly anti-fascist activism, and how that looks now, after we've had 4 years of Trump and, another proliferation of the far right. Like, I would read it. I would kickstart that for him.
Oh, just so same. Oh my God.
Oh, it would be so good.
100%. We have a very important question in the stream before we move on. The cat's name.
The cat's name is Princess Peach.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
She is my life.
I love her. I would die for her. We're gonna move from amazing cats back to just the dumbest shit. So Mark Bray says this being the far right racist ideology, I assume he's not clear, was caused by economic stagnation during the time and strong recruitment efforts by the National Front, a British party founded in 1967. There's a citation. I'm sure that Mark Bray said that. That seems fine. In response to the development of far-right skinhead subculture in the 1970s and 80s, a counter-movement of anti-racist skinheads formed. On the surface, they looked visually similar. They sported very short or shaved heads, bomber jackets, Fred Perry polo shirts, and steel-toed Dark Martin boots. But more subtle cues, such as bootlace colors, tattoos, and patches, would signal which ideological faction one belonged to. At punk shows, they often fought each other. The fighting became ritualized and an act to show up for in and of itself. Maybe they just didn't like Nazis. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Sounds about right.
There? Yeah.
Post-war Britain doesn't like Nazis.
Gobsmacked. Can't understand it. Baffling.
Half of London leveled by Nazi bombers. Nazi punks coming into shows in the 70s. It sounds like you would, allegedly parody, beat the shit out of them. Just saying.
Parody satire, yeah. I'm just saying, like, honestly, yeah. If my scene was invaded by Nazis, I would not be kind. I'm not gonna lie, like, especially if they were like taking over something that I really cared about and making it their own. That would be very upsetting. Yeah. Let's see here. Yep. As Britain struggled with instances of organized far-right violence targeting South Asian immigrant and Black communities, a plethora of militant left-wing groups formed to oppose them. This is actually not the worst thing I've ever read for a second.
I'm holding my breath.
Yeah, I'm sure it's coming. Let's see. In 1985, the Anti-Fascist Action was formed in London. It was made up of members who belonged to numerous other far-left groups like Red Action and the Direct Action Movement. There's a citation. Good job, Andy. The Anti-Fascist Action took inspiration from the original German Antifa paramilitary and made it a primary goal to fight far-right groups like the National Front and the British National Party. In many ways, it was a small-scale repeat of the far-left versus far-right street battles that plagued the Weimar Republic in the interwar years. Oh, okay. All right, any particular complaints, I suppose. Glad to be one of your favorite liberals, Greeley Squirrel. You're on timeout. Let's see here. The militant Antifa organizing in Britain during the 1980s could be argued as legitimate, or at least more legitimate than the American manifestation that has become popular since 2016. First, the war against fascist Axis powers took place on European soil, and the Nazi Luftwaffe bombing campaigns in Britain were still in living memory. But even more than that, actual fascist party organizing was part of the mainstream British political landscape in the 20th century. Unlike in America, which has never had any fascism at all.
No, we just profit off of fascists.
Yeah.
Fascist campaigns. Nazis,
yeah. And also
and then those people settle into, and create political dynasties that last 50 years, 100 years. That's fine. No Nazis here. None. No Nazis. It's not like we invited Nazis into various engineering and science programs.
Heavens to Betsy.
Heavens, no.
Never.
Totally not a thing.
never.
Not a thing that the Americans did. No, it's not like we opened our doors to Nazis and put them in positions of power and just kind of gave them paychecks and let them proliferate unfettered for decades. Nah.
Yeah, no, never.
No, it's cool. They
also
helped build the space program.
No, it's fine. That was totally worth it. I mean, like, you know, it's fine. If you're smart, it's okay. If you're evil, that's the law.
Right. If you can make us money, we don't care about your political ideology.
Yeah. I just want you all to know, I'm just having fun blocking you. Like, all of you. I'm just like, I don't have to block you. You're not even being offensive. I just don't have to listen to you. And that's my right as an American. I'm hashtag canceling all of you. And I would urge you to get on twitter.com and tag me. My name is Laura Jadid on Twitter. And I would urge you to tag me and tell everyone that you were canceled by a YouTuber with very few subscribers who has destroyed your life. Please let everyone know. Also, while we're talking about American fascism, I'd like to point out that Hitler took direct inspiration from the Ku Klux Klan and the resistance to Reconstruction in the South. So, you know, Andy is just wrong. Yep. So, continuing on, thank you, Beta.
Oh, this is too good. I'm having way too much fun.
It's great, right? It's always great. It's even great when the Nazis don't come in, but it's more fun when they do.
Oh, dude, I love it. I love it.
Love you.
Please come back. Please come back so we can continue
time.
to clown on you and block you.
Every time. Yeah, I will ban you every time. It'll be fun. Yeah. All right, we've got the British Union of Fascists, led by Oswald Mosley, had up to 50,000 members at its peak in 1934. There's a citation, good job. The BUF organized rallies that were protected by its own paramilitary, the Fascist Defense Force, also the British police, but don't talk about it, it's fine. They wore black uniforms. They were involved in a number of notoriously violent clashes against protesters. The most notorious riot of all is known as the Battle of Cable Street, named after the large-scale fighting that occurred on Cable Street in East London in October 1936. We actually are going to talk about it. I'm
surprised you brought it up.
Yeah, I am also surprised. Let's see how he fucks it up. I can't wait.
Okay, let's see.
Honey, I'm not mad. I'm just out of your league and you're never going to get to fuck me. Have a nice day. The Battle of Cable Street in East London in October 1936, upward of 20,000 counter-protesters, some estimates put this number much higher, organized to fight the 2,000 to 3,000 BUF members who were escorted by police. Thank you, Andy. Good job. Good job. Citation even. Mosley eventually had his black shirts retreat from the march, while rioters moved on to fighting cops. Had his black shirts retreat is an interesting way of saying he ran for the fucking hills.
Yeah, they ran for their lives. They didn't had them retreat. They were getting pelted with rocks. They were getting beaten half to death in the street, man.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, that was not that was not a tactical decision. That was an, oh shit, we're gonna die. Maybe we shouldn't be Nazis. Great Plains Drifter asks a great question. So did Hitler get his ideas from Southern Democrats? Yes, Great Plains Drifter, he did. In the Reconstruction era, the Democrats were the party of the racist South, while the Republicans were the party of Lincoln and liberated people in Reconstruction. There was a lot of realignment that happened in the 50s and 60s with the advent of the civil rights movement, when the Dixiecrats transitioned to the Republicans after the Democrats embraced civil rights, and Nixon decided on the Southern strategy. So yes, they were Democrats, but the parties are very different now. I'm not a Democrat, by the way. Joe Biden is not my friend. But good question. I hope that helps, Great Plains Drifter. I hope that helps you understand American history a little bit better.
Well, he certainly loved American eugenicists as well. So
yeah, no, they're huge fans. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta get a couple more blocks in here. Yeah, you can go away. You two almost pass. I'm not offended by that. It's not offensive to be trans.
Flip Crypto, the fact that you think I'm a boy.
Oh. I know, right? It's
my
nice.
non-binary ass is like, yes, I am sufficiently androgynous.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
It's really
Appreciate
nice.
that.
Yeah. Good. I'm sorry. I would unblock you if I could. I would not unblock you if I could. But if I could, for acknowledging, for being kind of woke. Good job. I hope your friends don't find out how woke you are, because you might be embarrassed by that. Yeah. So cool. Anyway, yeah. So thanks, by the way, all of you for boosting my engagement, and I will continue to block you because it's fun.
Beta, yes, gender Vana. Finally.
Beautiful.
Finally.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Perfect. I'm feeling so validated right now.
Yeah, wow. This has been affirming in a way that it usually isn't. I'm so glad that we can have this moment.
Okay.
Glorious.
Anyways, continue with the reading. Yes, I'm curious how he keeps this moving.
Yeah. He's okay. Here he is. Okay. The Battle of Cable Street remains one of the most important mythos for contemporary Antifa groups in establishing and legitimizing a physical force tradition. This is a trait of extremist groups. Or maybe it's just a trait of groups that are faced with violence and then respond in kind. I don't know. I have no idea.
Nah, it can't be that.
Nah, it can't be it. An analogy to Antifa is the Irish Republican Army, which also romanticized violent heroism. Its ideologues used the 1916 Irish uprising against the British as justification for the deadly terrorist act it carried on in UK soil in the second half of the 20th century. We do not have time to get into that.
I was going to say, you're talking about like centuries of Irish history and oppression that culminated in the revolution in 1916. And then you're also talking about decades of political upheaval. I'm going to drink to that because holy shit, that was a reach. Wow.
Yeah. This is
that would be
alcoholism
a podcast series of trying to unpack that history. That's incredible.
All right. In 2 sentences, Andy managed to get so much wrong that we're going to need 2 hours to deconstruct it. So good job.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Just breathtaking.
Just magnificent, just majestic. All right. Antifa literature and propaganda cite the Battle of Cable Street and later other clashes against the National Front and British National Party as a prime example of how mass violent direct action can stop fascist organizing. But this is wrong. What stopped the far-right parties from organizing was their falling out of favor with voters due to their extremism. Mosley's British Union of Fascism lost significant popular support for its open embrace of anti-Semitism. During World War II, the group's members were interned, and Mosley later exiled himself to France, where he eventually died. Did you notice how none of that had any goddamn citations whatsoever? Just asserting shit. Anyone can write a book, apparently.
Man, I wish I wasn't like a principled scholar because the book that I'm about to write would be so much easier to write if I didn't have to fucking do my research.
If we could just make it up.
You gotta hand it to the dude for somehow just cornering a market and just fucking milking it.
No, absolutely.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. No,
sweet.
Well done. I would like to real quick just take a break. I've forgotten to do it, and we're 30 minutes in, and I've been bad about this. The proceeds from this live stream are going to Myanmar, the people who are fighting for freedom over there from the military coup that's going on. There is a link in the description that you can donate to directly, and I would encourage you to do that. You can also super chat, but YouTube will take a cut of it, so it's more efficient to go through the link in the description. Everyone who's already donated to that, you are amazing. We had a lot of donations in the last live stream, but if you haven't yet, consider doing it. If you can't do that, consider sharing it. Obviously, don't donate if you can't. But so cool.
Cool.
With that being said, what Andy said is I did a little bit of research before the episode. I cheated and looked at this chapter, and it's true that the BUF did gain membership in the aftermath of the Battle of Cable Street. They didn't kill them right away. But I would say that the question is complicated. I don't think it's as simple as they embraced anti-Semitism and then everyone told them to fuck off because they embraced anti-Semitism before Cable Street and just continued to. So I don't know.
I mean, there's always nuance to that history. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on a second. Sorry, I am having a lot of fun today. We've had a question asking for citation. My citation on that would be Wikipedia and the things that they cite, because Wikipedia isn't a great thing on its own, but they do provide sources for the things that they say. And if you check out the Wikipedia article on the Battle of Cable Street, you will find further reading that you can do on that. I would recommend it.
Well, Wikipedia is actually a pretty trustworthy source. It's peer reviewed, and often wrong shit is taken off the site pretty quickly. So Wikipedia is always a good start.
Yeah. Do I believe in free speech or not? I do believe in free speech, but I believe in my freedom to not hear it if I don't want to. You also have that freedom. You can log off anytime you want.
Right.
Yep. So question if we're over than 5. I am 95. You're gone. Super straight. No, you aren't. Blocked. God, do this every time. Guys, do this every time. Every time. I demand that you return. Okay. Where were we? Sorry, it's completely lost my place. Okay, yes, the National Front had its best electoral performance at some local elections in the mid-1970s, though it never managed to get even 1% of the national vote at its peak. Membership of the party rapidly declined by the late 1970s, and the party is obsolete today. So again, that's a more complicated story. Do your stuff.
Do your research, folks.
Do your research. Yeah. I am hearing that I'm getting ratioed on the dislikes to likes. If everyone wants to go ahead and give the video a like, because I'm an attention whore and I want you to validate my existence, you should do that. Let's see here. The history of fascism in Britain over the course of a century was accompanied by a long history of mainstream anti-fascism as well. But today, communists, socialists, and anarchists claim a monopoly on anti-fascism and define it to mean something entirely else. That is not a misread. It is, in fact, something entirely else. That's the sentence. Okay. That's just, I just needed a moment to get over that. As for Antifa's cross-pollination with British punk music and punk culture, it was a lasting influence that aligned the ideology towards anti-authoritarianism and anarchism. Cool. There's a citation. Cool. Let's see here. This form of Antifa, different from its German communist origin, eventually was exported to the United States. Dun, dun, dun. George Soros came through! Oh my God! This is the first George Soros money I've seen! Thank you, George.
Yes! Dude, it's taken years. Oh, hell yes.
Finally. Good.
Finally. God. Finally, we're getting paid for our important work that's going straight to the very beautiful activists who are putting their lives on the line in Myanmar.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, good job. Thank you. Thank you, George. We appreciate you a lot. We are now going to move on to a section entitled American Antifa. So this should be fun. It's going to be great. Though American Antifa groups today are associated with left-wing West Coast cities like Portland and Seattle, the first Antifa groups to emerge in the United States actually came out of the American Midwest. In the late 1980s, a group of far-left skinheads known as the Baldies began meeting in Minneapolis to strategize how to oppose the far-right skinhead movement that was growing in the American neo-Nazi scene. Yeah. Cool. Let's see here. Sorry, a second here. No, yeah, that's a good rhyme, but you're still blocked. The Baldies believe violence was the appropriate way to respond. Interesting that he doesn't say to respond to what, just to respond to stuff.
Stuff and things.
Things. Yeah. They were influenced by British extremist anarchist papers like Black Flag and Class War, publications that encouraged violence and insurrectionist behavior. There's a citation. Cool. Together with other left-wing skinheads from across the Midwest, they formed one of the first known American Antifa networks. Made up of numerous groups such as Anti-Racist Action, they named their network the Syndicate. That's impressive.
I'm not familiar with American anti-fascist history, so if that's the case, if that is the actual name of it, that's so cool.
Right?
The Syndicate.
That's incredible. Like that's
fucking yes.
A very good name, and I'm really happy. Yeah. Incredible. Up. Yep. Word. That's true. No. I I do find the notion that we're getting paid by George Soros to be very funny. George Soros himself, sort of, I am making fun of the trope, not the gentleman himself, who is, by all fans, fine. So, the anti-racist action had a model of organizing violence to oppose or disrupt what they say are far-right groups and individuals. It is the immediate precursor to a contemporary American anti-fascist groups. Their tactics and ideology were taken directly from the UK Anti-Fascist Action, who in turn took inspiration from the German Communist Party's Antifasch Action, which you've already been over. Thanks, Andy, for reviewing. According to Mark Bray, who interviewed an early Anti-Racist Action member, the group decided to name itself the Anti-Racist Action rather than the Anti-Fascist Action because fascism, quote, sounded like a dogmatic leftist term, unquote, in an American context. There's a citation. I'm not sure what his point is here, but okay, it's cited, so cool.
Trying to point out that leftists are just, using libs woke speak. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
who knows what that is?
Thanks. Who's to say, really? Thanks. Awesome. A simpler explanation is that until recently, the word racism had a much more political resonance in the United States than fascism. America's history is marred by state-sanctioned and state-enforced racism, and its war against actual fascism was never fought on U.S. soil. Good job on acknowledging that racism exists, Andy. I'm proud of you, actually. Good job. Thank you. Let's see here. A request to slow down. I'm not sure that I can do that, but I'll try. Through the late 1980s and into the 1990s and 2000s, militant Antifa organization remained on the margins of society, as did neo-Nazi and KKK organizing. That's a very interesting statement he just made.
On the margins of society?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but like,
what's the years we're talking about here?
The 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So Antifa wasn't like, but it's rather bold to argue that like neo-Nazi and KKK organizing weren't at least, I mean, there were some attacks I seem to recall in the 90s. I have a quick, I need to answer a question from Grilly Skrull, who wants to know why we want money if we're against capitalism. It's because we live in capitalism. And although I am sure that it would be very convenient for everyone who doesn't like capitalism to just like voluntarily starve themselves to death and protest, that's not actually how things work. I like living. I really like it. And things aren't capitalist. Like objects existed before capitalism happened, and they will exist after capitalism is gone. Hope that helps.
Couldn't have said it better. No ethical consumption under capitalism.
However, one must.
We all got to live. We all got to have a roof over our heads.
Yeah.
It's nice to have food in the fridge.
I love food. It's because
food costs money.
It does.
Costs money.
If I was a true an anti-capitalist, I would just not eat. But unfortunately, I'm a hypocrite, so I like to eat. Tragic. You know what else I like to do? I like to drink whiskey and ban people. Those are my two favorite things. I do have more whiskey, but I also have more banning.
Kitty, please get down. Go on. Thank you.
So, all right. So while traditional fascism has not been a part of modern American political culture, unlike countries in Europe, there have been many far-right white identity groups, here we go, and inspired lone wolves operating outside the American mainstream. Interesting. This is the strategy that they used pretty explicitly since the 1980s when they decided in the aftermath of Ruby that it might be better to go to like a cell organization rather than to have a top-down organization. This was a very conscious choice. It was a choice imitated by Al-Qaeda, similar structure. So if we're talking about Al-Qaeda analogies, which Andy likes to make, that's an actual literal one. So
my cat has apparently decided that she wants to hang out and stay.
Good.
Can't get her off of this is Peach. I would die for her.
Same. All cats are Antifa. That is canon.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Also, hi Justin. I see you in chat. You're a distraction, Peach. You know that, right?
A beautiful distraction. We're about to get to my absolute favorite part of this whole thing.
Oh, great.
George Soros has donated more money. Thank you, George. We appreciate you.
Go on.
So we have, the lone wolves operating outside the American mainstream. Their involvement in violence and intimidation of minority groups. So this is about to be a doozy, y'all. So I'm just going to read the whole thing. It's going to be horrible, and then we're going to pick it apart. So everyone buckle in. Their involvement in violence and intimidation of minority groups have been extensively covered by government agencies, news media, pop culture, and cinema. From 1997 to 2006, the FBI tracked an average of 7,900 hate incidents a year, of which 46% were intimidation-related and 31.9% were simple assaults. Thousands of reported hate incidents a year may sound like a lot. Here we go. But the United States has a steadily growing population of more than 320 million people. Calculated at an incident rate, it is less than 2.5 incidents per 100,000 people. Additionally, looking closer at the data reveals nuance. Thank you, Joseph. Whites are underrepresented as offenders as less than 60%. They make up more than 76% of the population. Blacks are overrepresented as more than 20% of offenders compared to being around 13% of the overall population. Further, the number of FBI-tracked hate incidents has declined since 2006, even though more agencies are reporting data. So you may be wondering, what's the source on all this? And I will tell you. The source is an FBI report that doesn't exist. I looked at this before we started. I searched the thing that he links to. And it does not exist. He cites it, and some other people cite him citing it, and it's not there. I have looked. I cannot find it because these statistics are bullshit. The only thing that he cites that has any kind of backing is the thing about hate crimes declining since 2006. The thing he cites is from 2008. So that means that hate crimes declined in 2007. That's his statistic that he's using here. Now look. There are some right-wingers in the audience, thanks to the Mass Report retweet thread. Y'all can believe what you want, but this is some shoddy shit, and you should be embarrassed. This is your boy, and he's fucked up. There is
this
absolutely,
dude made up statistics.
Unbelievable.
It's the same sort of argument where it's like, well, what about black on black crime? It's the same shit. It's the same lazy, racist argument that is made over and over again.
Yeah, and like,
come on.
Like the black on black crime thing is complicated, and it's hard to dispute in quickly because it involves unpacking this whole racist system that we exist under, and the statistics are like a number that don't encapsulate the reality of the situation. But this shit is just wrong.
It's just fake.
Those numbers just aren't real. Like,
just fake.
In no way are black people committing 20% of hate crimes by any metric. And if you can find something, DM me. Like, it's just not true. Someone's asked me to provide the real statistics. You know what? I can't, but I think people should look it up. I do know that of the extremist, the hate crime related deaths over the past 8 years, like 90% of them were right wing, and then the remaining like 7 or 8% were related to Islamic groups, and 0% were leftist. One could argue about the Reinhold Davidson incident, whether that was self-defense or not, but that's a whole other subject we're not going to get into. But that's literally the only thing that could even remotely be classified as a death at the hands of leftist extremists over the past 10 years. Scott, you have Google. You have Google, and you can look it up. I believe in you.
Googling.
You're on a knife's edge, straw man. You're on a knife's edge.
Well, let's just look at an article from October of 2020 that says that white supremacists and other white-wing extremists have been responsible for 67% of domestic terror attacks and plots so far in the year 2020, and that was in October. Yeah. Responsible for 41 politically motivated attacks and plots this year. Like, come on. Let's think about these statistics realistically, please. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And this came out in October. When did this book go to press?
I believe sometime in late December, early January.
Okay, so Andy Ngo had plenty of time to see this new information come out and spend some time digesting it before he decided to spout off this nonsense. So, you know,
man, you're getting banned for being a dumbass. I want you to know that I'm not attacking you by telling you to use Google. And if you're that sensitive, you don't belong in the stream. Those are feds. No, we aren't. let's see here. Yeah, so thank you. And yeah, anyone with a computer and the ability to type can find these statistics. So.
Corey says what Noah is citing here is a chart from a far right think tank. I think I saw him share it during the summer.
Shoot. Oh, there it is. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, that explains why he's not citing it. Because what he cites is, like I said, it's an FBI report that doesn't exist. So it makes sense that he wouldn't want to cite that. And I don't blame him. Let's see here.
I mean, it's super easy just to kind of like, your audience isn't going to do their homework. So,
right,
citations?
Yeah, I mean,
nah. No,
they don't. The thing is that's nice is that they can just cite this book forever, and then it's like a real cited source. That it's so stupid. Bitch, I'll make you a sandwich out of your dick. How about that? Although hate crimes are relatively rare in the United States, citation needed, each and every anecdote has the potential to create social trauma and panic. For example, the murder of 9 Black parishioners in Charleston, South Carolina by far-right shooter Dylan Roof in 2015 had more lasting salience than the murder of 14 people by a jihadist husband and wife in San Bernardino, California the same year. A fascinating claim given how many people I know have pulse tattoos. Like, I don't even know where to start. What the fuck?
Come on, man. The tragedy in San Bernardino has fucking drastically changed that community. What are you talking about?
Fuck yeah. Like, it's a ridiculous thing to say that impacted the queer community in a huge way across the country, especially there.
Pulse, yes, in Miami, San Bernardino, the workplace shootout that happened. Man, pretty much every major domestic terrorist attack and mass shooting that has happened in this country has drastically changed how we view, communities that have been affected by it. And especially with Pulse, man, I remember attending vigils in my own town, where the queer community came together to try and make sense of what happened. And, this is, come on, like bad faith, like equivalence across the board.
No,
absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. It's just not the case. Let's see here. Yeah, we're going to do it again. People remember the homicide of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. But few know the name of the victim killed by an antifa shooter in Portland in 2020. George, you've been called out. You know what to do. Let's see. Nope. You can leave. It's about crucifying Andy Ngo. Yeah, that's what it's about. We crucify him here. It's like that one Tori Amos song. Let's see. Yeah. So about the victim killed by the Antifa shooter in 2020. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. What had happened was that a Trump caravan drove into downtown Portland in order to provoke a reaction, and they got one. A group, 2 or 3 members of Patriot Prayer were walking down the streets. There were a couple of members of Black Lives Matter protests walking the other direction. Jay Danielson went to pepper spray one of the Black Lives Matter people. That person shot him twice. Whether or not it was self-defense is an interesting question. I think it's awful that it happened. I'm not willing to call Reinhold a hero. I think what happened was horrible. We'll never really know if it was self-defense because he was extrajudicially murdered by federal agents 3 days later, and then Trump celebrated it. So no, I don't actually think that's even remotely similar to someone getting run over by a car for doing First Amendment shit, actually. So,
well, and there was a pretty detailed investigation that the New York Times put out about that incident with Michael Reinhold. That lends credibility to his claims that it was self-defense, right? We will never actually know because federal marshals shot him to death in his car before he even had the ability to surrender, and Heather Heyer and was murdered, and many other people were severely injured by James Alexander Fields, who very deliberately drove his car into a crowd full of protesters who were occupying a street. I don't see how that is in any way comparable. And it's frankly offensive that Ngo is making these comparisons.
I would agree. I would agree. Not here for it. Stories of violent white racism, though exceptionally rare, are impactful to the American public because they remind us of American history. Antifa exploit this sensitivity to justify their own violent extremism. Neat. Antifa and academe, which I don't really understand why he uses academe instead of academia, but I suppose that's his right. We're gonna read about Milo now. Is everyone ready? Everyone ready to? Oh my god! Someone just said that Antifa has murdered more than any police or white person combined, and that we should be gassed. I'm not gonna post his comment because his screen name is really fucked. But I do.
That's
think it's
fucking
really
hilarious because we have the citations to back that shit up.
Yeah,
that is completely untrue. But hey, it's cool.
True, but hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining the show. Bye. So let's learn about Milo, shall we? In February 2017, Milo Yiannopoulos was scheduled to speak at the University of California, Berkeley. By then, the right-wing provocateur had already completed a number of speaking gigs across the United States as part of his Breitbart News-sponsored tour. He and his entourage of cameramen and assistants were transported in a rock star-style tour bus with the name of the show printed across its side. Goodbye, George. We're about to get into like a whole bunch of pretty hateful shit. So here's your CW. Tune out for the next minute or so if that's something that's going to upset you. Hopefully you're not on the stream at all because it's just been chock full of that shit. But it's about to get kind of hairy here. So name of the show printed across its side: The Dangerous Faggot Tour. The text was accompanied by a large cartoon of a regal-looking Yiannopoulos being carried by 4 muscular men. Why do lesbians fake so many hate crimes was the title of his speech in September 2016 at Texas Tech University. At Louisiana State University, fat shaming works. The speeches continued across the United States in the autumn and winter of 2016 and into 2017. One by one, the speeches defiled the sacred cows of the left. 10 things I hate about Islam. Sorry for this next one. Trannies are gay. Why ugly people hate me. No more dead babies. It's a classy man with a classy mission.
I distinctly remember him speaking at some university, and I don't remember where it was, that had tried to, in the interest of sensitivity to Native American cultures, ban Native American costume wearing during a Halloween party.
Cool.
And he spent like 2.5 hours on that campus wearing a really fucking cheesy, horrible, Native American headdress to address the Republican far right, whoever the reactionaries on that campus, because they were all up in arms about something that is a pretty simple decision in the interest of being sensitive to Native Americans in this country.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, one of the most wonderful things, and thanks, Andy Ngo, for bringing this up, but the most wonderful thing that has happened in the last couple of years, one of them, is that Milo Yiannopoulos has been so deplatformed that he is just broke and like dredging the bottom of the barrel to stay relevant. Like,
God bless. Yeah, chef's kiss.
Fucked around and found out. I'm just saying.
Sometimes there are consequences for being a dick professionally.
Racist, sexist, misogynist dickbag, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, I don't know, is this really the person that you want to be like? I don't know. It seems like a very silly shtick to me. And it certainly isn't a hill that I would want to die on as a free speech advocate. I would maybe choose something a little more substantive and a little less just like blatantly trolling. I don't know. The sacred cows of the left being nice to people. Yeah, I'll take that. We do
having
like
human
that.
Decency.
Yeah. Sacred
sounds
cows
pretty good.
Left. Yeah. Nope. I'll own that. Incredible. As the tour moved westward, it attracted larger protests and angrier people. Soon, outside left-wing groups organized to join their comrades on campus. Among them were Antifa. Probably true, but it feels like a citation might be called for here. I don't know. I don't know anything. So yeah, this might be my favorite sentence in this entire chapter. While early protests produced comical footage primed for viral memes, such as scenes of screaming and crying students, the Antifa came equipped with weapons. Can we unpack that for a second?
Can you reread that?
Yeah, it's an astounding sentence and it's very, very revealing. While early protests produced comical footage primed for viral memes, such as scenes of screaming and crying students. Why would that be like? I like a good laugh and I like dark humor. Like, I'm not one of those like people that yells at stand-up comics for being like obscene or whatever. I'm just not. Like, no shade if you are, but like, I like some dark humor. But like, screaming and crying students isn't actually that funny, is it? Like, anyone help me?
And just a bit, it, betrays to us non-right-wing readers exactly who his audience is. Someone from the far right reading that would be laughing their ass off. So.
Sure. Yeah. Like,
it's completely useless information.
Yeah. It just reveals what Andy thinks of as funny and fine. Like, I don't know. I don't actually like it when, I don't know. It just, to have your whole goal be to upset people is weird. It's fucking weird. All right. Like, I'm not even saying you're like bad. I mean, you are, but that's not what I'm saying. Like, it's just weird. You're fucking weird. Comrade Ibot, you're asking about the estimated time. We are going to finish one more section, and it's, well, maybe we aren't. This is actually long, but we're aiming for an hour. We're at about the hour mark. We're going to wrap up soon. Goodbye, Nazi user. No Sneed. All right, well, we're going to keep reading for a little bit, and then we'll probably call it a day. A reminder, if you haven't donated and you'd like to, there is a Myanmar link in the description. It is for people who are fighting an armed coup.
By the way, for every person in chat who says I'm hot, they need to donate $10 to this GoFundMe.
Accurate. That's accurate.
I've been watching these comments all night. I see you. I appreciate you. But if you are not donating to this cause, I swear to God, your DM requests are going to go ignored. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's the truth.
Thanks for the compliment.
Excellent point and compelling, and people should listen to that.
Someone was like, "How much for feet pics?" earlier. Like, donate $10,000 to this charity, and we could maybe talk about it.
Yeah. Oh,
just saying.
Oh, beautiful. While early protests produced comical footage primed for viral memes such as scenes of screaming and crying students, the Antifa came equipped with weapons. Yiannopoulos, an editor at Breitbart at the time, was protected by professional security. However, his fans had none and bore the brunt of violence from rioters while waiting in line outside auditoriums. On January 20th, 2017, at the University of Washington in Seattle, it was nearly deadly. So nearly deadly, that is everyone ready for a tale of Antifa shooting somebody? Is that what we're ready for? That's kind of what it sounds like we're going, right?
I'm so tired.
I know, but wait for it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
It's going to be great. In the coincidentally named Red Square, hundreds of anarchists and left-wingers confronted Trump supporters. Many of them were in Black Bloc. In addition to their hatred of Yiannopoulos, tensions had reached a peak because it was also Inauguration Day. Left-wing militants hurled bricks and other projectiles at law enforcement, who tried to keep the two sides separated. Just as Yiannopoulos was about to speak inside Kane Hall, a shooting occurred outside. Oh no, Antifa shot somebody. Oh no, Joshua Phelan Dukes, a 35-year-old Antifa militant, also known as Hex, was shot in the abdomen by Elizabeth Hilkona. I'm so sorry, I'm bad. She claimed that Dukes had rushed towards her husband, a conservative Asian American man with a knife. At trial in August 2019, Dukes refused to testify and the jury failed to reach a consensus. The judge declared a mistrial. So to be clear, the violence that he's talking about is someone on the far right shooting someone on the left, just so we're all clear.
It's kind of masterful the way that he does this.
Oh, thanks, Space Jesus. Yeah, no, it's really good. Like, he just
the misdirection and manipulation is absolutely breathtaking.
Incredible. Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly, we all know this, but Andy Ngo is fairly good at whipping up a frenzy of his right-wing supporters, because he's very good at propaganda. And Greenbam, the writing is not good, but the propaganda and propagandizing in this book is kind of a masterclass if you're trying to study that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly it gets results. Otherwise he wouldn't have the following that he has. He wouldn't be, you know, spending a ton of time on CNN and various major news networks talking. He wouldn't be in front of congressional hearings talking about this stuff, right? He's positioned himself as an expert, so he can write this entire book that is not even remotely sourced by anything that is credible. You know, twist all of these events around, because that's what he's been doing with the post millennial for as long as he's been there. You know, stealing other people's footage, passing it off as his own, right? Like, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. No, that's
and horrible. Like, it's terrible writing. It makes me want to like slam my head into the desk, but that's not the intent. The intent is to continue to sort of like feed into this right-wing political propaganda machine. That's the whole point. And he's making bucks off of it. You know, this is not going to be his downfall, because he's already, you know, positioned himself as someone who is above reproach when it comes to credibility of sources and, you know, accurate information. So
that's
quite an interesting time so far.
Thank you, Jeremy Lee Quinn, for your donation. Everything that is donated continues to go to Myanmar, so thank you very much. Let's see. Yeah, no, you've nailed it. He's very good not at writing, but at something else entirely, and it's unfortunate that he's so good at it, because we all get to suffer. All right. Nevertheless, the dangerous faggot tour continued. Yiannopoulos headed to Northern California next. Only a week and a half after the UW shooting, he was scheduled to speak at UC Berkeley on invitation of the Berkeley College Republicans. Though hundreds of tickets were sold and the venue was booked, Yiannopoulos never got to speak. On the evening of February 1st, 2017, an estimated 1,500 protesters amassed outside Sproul Hall to shut down the event. As I recall, thank you. Yeah, RIP facts. Maybe someday they'll return.
Perfect. I love it. I love it so much.
Excellent. Yeah. So this event, as I recall, was an event in which Milo Yiannopoulos had threatened to read the full names of undocumented immigrants who were attending the college in question, and so for sure that would be endangering people, and people didn't like that. It's always weird to me how like the right talks about how much ideas matter and like about the importance of ideas, but they don't seem to understand that like that also like that's a double-edged sword. Like if you think ideas are important, that means that some ideas can be actively harmful. Like they can actually hurt people. Like reading out the names of people as targets for harassment or worse, like is actually real harmful. So that would be one reason why people were mad, just to give that some context.
Well, and once again, you know, you're entitled to your free speech, but you also are opening yourself up to the consequences of expressing that free speech.
Precisely.
You know, it's protected speech, but people don't have to listen to. And in fact, people can be extremely mad at what you have to say. And, you know, it's apparently something that is just not getting into the skulls of the far right crusaders for cancel culture.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, good luck everyone watching. Please meditate on that. Pray on it tonight. So they tried to shut down the event. Around 150 of them were masked in the black bloc, carrying communist and anarchist flags. We have a citation. The citation is from UC Berkeley, probably a student newspaper. Cool. Many of the militants belong to By Any Means Necessary, BAMN, a Bay Area militant Antifa group previously involved in organizing violent Black Lives Matter protests. In 2000, there it is. That is how you do it. Good job, Kings. That's correct.
Yes.
You're correct. Yep.
Compliments cost money. Thank you.
That's right. Good job. Obeys to Cat, you've been begging for attention all night. I don't care about your identity. You've mistaken me for a rad lib. You are just mistaken. I don't actually think that you're you being Native American or trans gives you the right to promote Andy Ngo's hate on my stream. And again, go find a Radlib channel if you think that I give a shit about any of that. So you can take that out of context, everyone. Take that out of context. and posted on YouTube and Twitter. So thanks. Anyhow, sorry for moving on. I don't speak for anyone else, by the way. That's just my policy. This is my YouTube channel. I don't give a fuck. So in 2002, BAMN was investigated by the FBI for suspected terrorist activities, though the group was never charged. So there was an investigation and no charges. Very damning. Cool. I don't know. I got no comments. Only months after Donald Trump's election and days after his inauguration, left-wing activists and militants across the country joined causes to stop what they say was American fascism. Yiannopoulos was one of Trump's loudest cheerleaders. Is this just going off the rails? Like, I've kind of lost the thread. Is it because I'm drunk?
No,
or is it
it's just a poorly put together chapter.
Yeah,
honestly.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad it's not just me. Okay. Well, we're just gonna keep reading, even though it doesn't really follow. Yiannopoulos was one of Trump's loudest cheerleaders, and he dared to trespass in progressive coastal cities, viewed as safe spaces to the left. Or he was just an asshole and people didn't like it. I don't fucking know. Going to UC Berkeley, one of America's most left-wing university, was not just a poke at the hornet's nest, but the kicking of several nests. What? I feel like you need some help with your metaphors, dude. Like, that was not a good one at all.
Kicking several hornets' nests. I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
you're not wrong, but
I don't know.
Come on, man, get creative. Let's get creative here.
Kicking a den of hyenas. You're antagonizing a den of bears. I don't know. Fucking work on it. Come on. Come on. Okay.
Also, Snooks, I see you. I thank you for the compliments. If you can't donate, that's fine. I'm just, everyone else, like who? Sorry, I have to call out this comment.
Yeah. What we got? I can post it if you'd like. Just let me know which one it is.
It's a little farther up. Lee Strom, I think, said Mel in a cocktail dress.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
I mean, come on. Unless you found a picture. Onwards. Move on.
Moving on.
Thank you. $50. And I'll dig through my Google photo drive.
Stealth.yy. I will try to imagine being a white liberal someday. I'm neither, but thanks for playing. Anyway, we got shoot. Sorry, my dog is being very very violent right now. You just all need to see her. She's very cute.
Aw.
Yeah, there she is. She's being very aggressive right now. Being very aggressive. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I just needed you all to see that because she's being cute. I do apologize. I'm a little bit drunk.
Hi, Brent. I see you in chat.
Oh, nice. All right. Yes, the kicking of several nests. Nearby cities include the progressive bastions of Oakland and San Francisco. Protesters and militant leftists from across the region converged on the campus to violently shut down the event. Worth noting also that a lot of Portland far-right people traveled down for this. In fact, a lot of far-right people from all over the country traveled down. So it's like pretty disingenuous to suggest that it was just Antifa or whatever that were traveling. So,
right.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, more often than not, it's far-right folks converging on various cities across the country, from all over the place who have the money to do so. So, I dipped into savings to cover protests on the ground in Minneapolis, and that was a 6-hour drive. And,
Word.
I don't have the money to do that. And most people don't have the money to do that. And when they do, it's really great to see that solidarity. But yeah, it's pretty disingenuous to say that just Antifa is converging upon these cities to push someone like Milo Yiannopoulos out of the community. Come on.
No. Sorry. Yes. Despite lines of police on duty near the Berkeley Student Union, officials were unable to stop or contain the violence. At UW, Antifa militants pepper sprayed and attacked those standing in line outside. They used sticks to hit people and throw rocks at fireworks at law enforcement. We have a citation. The citation is to UCB News, so that's the campus. Haven't reviewed it to see if that's what it says. I do seem to recall there being some brawls at that event. And not everyone is going to agree with me on this. I do think it was maybe a poor strategy in retrospect. I don't think it did a lot of good. I might be alone in that, but I'm just going to throw it out there. But was it like terroristic violence? I don't know. It seems like a reach to me. I don't know. Stolen MAGA hats were set on fire, leading to cheers from the mob. That's just funny. UC Berkeley Police Chief Margot Bennett said Molotov cocktails were also thrown. So that's a police source on that.
Man, come on.
Yeah, okay. Antifa stole metal barricades originally set up to separate attendees and protesters. They used the barricades as impromptu weapons to smash the student union's windows. Citation needed, but I do seem to recall that happening. Large mobile lights set up to illuminate the plaza were knocked over and set on fire. The crowd cheered and celebrated the site of the destruction. Even after Yiannopoulos' speech was canceled, the militants continued to riot. Police stood by and watched. The rioters slowly made their way to downtown Berkeley, where they smashed business windows and ransacked the interiors. Yvette Falarca, a leader of BAMN, who was at the riot and participated in the summer 2016 protest at the state capitol that had become violent. That's just a parenthesis in there. There's no further explanation. I have nothing.
Yeah, I have a vague recollection of the Berkeley incident. I was pretty heavy into local organizing at the time, and so didn't really have my eye on the coast at all. But I do seem to remember it being a little wild.
Mm-hmm.
And yet these tactics were effective because Milo didn't speak.
Yeah, he didn't. Although it is fair to say that there were several more brawls at Berkeley in the coming months. So, there are some pros and some cons. But Milo, you're right. Milo did not get to list the people that he thought people should harass at Berkeley, and that does seem like a win to me.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about that time on the coast to be able to offer an opinion beyond that. Yeah.
I'm going to offer mine because I'm a little drunk and because it's what I do and it's not the most popular opinion, but it is mine. Like, I do think that the way the Berkeley riots went down did attract more violence to the city later. I think that it became a magnet for the far right in a way that it didn't have to. I think that sometimes there's the idea that because sometimes it's okay to respond in that way, that it's always the best in that way.
Right.
I think in this case, the results bear out my point that it might not have been the best in this case. I have one of my second video ever on this channel, which is horribly paced and badly done, is about exactly this. And if you want to watch it and bear with me as I have no idea how to do videos, you can do that. But anyway, regardless, Milo didn't get to give his shitty list, and that is good. So
right.
And that is what the spokesman the spokeshuman of BAMN said, which is, I think shutting down and forcing the cancellation of a white supremacist like Milo Yiannopoulos was a stunning achievement. She told Berkeley Side News that night. This is about our right to be free of intimidation. Given free rein by sympathetic elected officials, Antifa's violence continued in the city. On April 15th, 2017, Eric Clanton, who was an adjunct professor at a local college, allegedly assaulted several people with a heavy bike lock. Viral video footage of one incident allegedly showed a masked Clanton using the bike lock to smash the head of a Trump supporter in Berkeley. Clanton was arrested and ultimately pleaded no contest to one misdemeanor charge, but his felony assault charges were dismissed. He was sentenced to only probation and a sweetheart deal.
Richard Anderson, go fuck yourself.
Oh, who are we banning? Yep.
Kyle Rittenhouse, my hero, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
Have a nice night.
Go fuck yourself. Good night.
Also, Corey has a good point. Abner could absolutely come on and talk about Berkeley.
I would. Oh my God.
For your next stream, you could backtrack a little bit and talk more about it. I would love.
I would love that. I'm going to reach out to Abner tonight. That would be fantastic because, we're actually almost to a break, so this is perfect. We're going to read just to the end of this, and then we're going to call it a night. And then hopefully on Tuesday, Abner can come on. That's a fantastic idea. Very excited. Thank you, Beta, for getting him. So we're just going to finish out a couple more. Oh, this is great. So the bike lock, I don't actually know a lot about him. We'll ask Abner. It's interesting that Andy says allegedly so much because that implies to me that saying that he definitely did it would be a cause for a libel suit, which implies that it's not as simple as he's saying. So let's take that away. So Clanton is not the involved in Antifa. There's also Mark Bray, the author of Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. And during the 2020 Portland riots, those arrested included professors and instructors from various academic institutions in the Portland area. Hell of a thing to equivocate between somebody who allegedly bashed someone over the head with a bike lock, which again, I don't know. I didn't get to research this. But that seems real different to me than writing a book. Mel, what's your take? Book, bike lock, same thing, different?
I feel like those things exist in a completely separate universe from one another. And
that's how I feel too.
The biggest gripe that I have is that like folks seem to think that certain professions, people who belong to certain professions, are somehow divorced from politics and can't have political opinions. Yeah. You know, we're journalists, you and I. We got political opinions. Yeah. We're allowed to have them. We're allowed to voice them publicly. This does not change the fact that we report on stories with accuracy, honesty, empathy, credibility, right? It goes the same for anyone who is in an academic institution. You know, like they get conservatives in their classes all the time. They don't fail them on the basis of them being conservative because that's bullshit.
Yeah.
No. Right. And like the legacy of Turning Point has made it this huge fucking deal. And it's like, no, man. Like, come on. And absolutely not. Mark Bray writing a book about Antifa is not the same thing as someone getting brained by a bike lock. I'm sorry.
No,
what?
Not at all. Not even remotely. It's a really nice, just like weird bendiness of Andy's logic where he just, I don't know. It's incredible.
Just says whatever the fuck he wants because he thinks he won't be challenged on it. And honestly,
mostly.
Unfortunately, the people who challenge him, he's got blocked on Twitter or he just doesn't listen to.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get a big enough following, I guess, you know.
I guess. Yeah, you just get to do whatever the fuck you want.
Strike me down if I ever get a big enough following and I think I can't be challenged on any stupid ideas I happen to voice into the void. Someone please.
Oh God.
You know, if I reach that point and I think that I'm above reproach, God, I'll dig my own grave and you can just push me into it, you know?
Yeah.
Shit.
I'll drink to that. Oh, absolutely. So we have, thank you, Pliny the Elder. I like to think so. Thank you. We've reached a nice little stopping point here, and I think we will stop here. It's been well over an hour. I'm sorry. I do this every time. I'm always like, we're going to go an hour, and then we don't. But Mel, thank you so much for joining me. This was a blast.
Let's do it again. I'm happy to join any of these streams.
Excellent. Yeah, we got a bunch more chapters to go. He wrote 300 pages of this shit. We're on page 129, so there's going to be plenty of time.
Perfect.
Cool.
I'm down.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining. A reminder again, all the proceeds from this video go to Myanmar. It's going to take YouTube about 24 hours to figure out what that was. Once they do it, I'll post it. You can also donate at the link in the description. It's the best way to do it, actually, because they won't take a cut the way that YouTube will. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Big shout out to Master Fleet Report Thread for boosting my analytics. Big shout out to everyone for being here. Thank you, Beta Cuck, for holding it down in the moderation department. Love you. Oliver the Cat, you're getting blocked. A late block for saying you're instead of you are. Goodbye. No, thank you. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
See ya.